So I would like to welcome all the panelists who have joined us to have this insightful conversation on mastering the art of strategic storytelling. And as we all know that storytelling is an art, is at the heart of whatever we do nowadays. Like it's how we connect, persuade and inspire. And it's in all the businesses, marketing, be it leadership or personal branding. So, but strategic storytelling goes beyond just telling a good story. It's about crafting narrative with purpose, impact, and alignment with the different goals of like stakeholders, internal, external. And today we have an incredible line of experts who will share their insights, experiences, and strategies on how we can master this art of storytelling. Uh, Mr. Guliani is here, so I would like all of you to welcome him with a round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring up a very enthusiastic cheer for our panelist, Mr. Abhishek Guliani.
Okay. So we'll start with you, Mr. Guliani. So, the first question is, how do you define strategic storytelling, and why is storytelling is such a powerful tool in today's business and leadership landscape?
So I think the first one is the fact that we need to understand that storytelling and strategic storytelling are different things, right? So storytelling is to inform, entertain, whereas strategic storytelling is slightly more purpose-based, and you're trying to align that strategy to a mission or a vision or values of an organization, and therefore you're trying to build a narrative that will have an influence on or a change of behavior among the audiences that you're trying to reach, right? So I think in that sense, strategic storytelling in our profession or in the profession or the landscape of communications is very, very important. I think there are a lot of opportunities also that are coming in strategic storytelling. One is the fact that a story now is a global story, right? Because of the fact that there is a digital outburst that's happening and you can now build your narratives across the world, right? And also the fact that, so there's a research that we did which basically is called the age of agency, which is basically talking about atomization of culture, whereas the fact that five of us sitting on the panel, while we might be of similar profiles, but the way we are consuming information is very, very different. So for example, the podcasts we're trying to listen to are very different from, say, the podcast you're listening to, and it's based on interest. So there is a sense of atomization that's happening globally across all of us, right? The kind of OTT channels, and then the algorithms are kind of coming in and helping. So therefore, the storytelling has to also change accordingly, and that's the opportunity and the interest and the beauty of what's happening in communications right now. I think the other part is the fact that authenticity is among consumers, and trust among consumers is a lot more right now. You're looking for more authentic stories and trustworthy stories. So I think that's the framework of what a strategic storytelling and opportunities and potentially what could be areas that could be. So I think there is just stories everywhere, and it's for us to pick up and tell them.
Thank you for your perspective. So moving to Neeru.
So strategic storytelling, one example that comes to mind is Vikram and Betal and Shehzade. So both of them wanted to stay alive. And that's how, there were 1,001 stories that, the princess related. And, her husband wanted to know the end, and that's how she got an extension, and so on and so forth. So nothing has changed as far as the impact of storytelling or strategic storytelling is concerned, except the fact that there is a lot of media that is available, and because of this hyper interconnected world, everything can get out of hand, A, pretty fast, and B, you don't know who's doing the fact checking for you across media at any given point of time, especially for global brands anywhere in the world. So consistency and authenticity and also agility, so these are things that have to be embedded in the overall kind of strategy, because somebody somewhere is going to report you out, and that's it, you have a crisis on hand. So, the uniformity in terms of the messaging is very important. Now, one example that comes to mind, which is a very, very effective strategic storytelling, like a brand campaign, was the Nike campaign that they unveiled during the pandemic. So we're talking about the time when everybody felt really isolated and people were not very hopeful. And then Nike came up with this ad, which was like a campaign rather, which was a 360-degree campaign. They wanted their audiences and their viewers to get, involved. And they spoke about diversity. They spoke about the fact that even today, sports may have taken a backseat. Everything is cancelled as far as sports events are concerned. But we will emerge stronger. And we are not alone in this. So that was something that just, hit a chord. Because people were sitting at home, they were scared. And then there were a series of athletes and stories that were a part of that campaign that allowed people to feel that there is hope. And how the message landed was endurance and, perseverance, so to speak. So I'll pass it on now to the other panelists.
Yeah, I feel, strategic storytelling is, nothing new. It's, ages old. I think the most strategic storyteller was someone called our mother. And all of you can correlate. When you say strategic storytelling, I mean that is storytelling against some key objectives, some deliverables. And so, if the deliverable is to put your child to sleep, I think the mothers have been the most strategic storytellers. They have been most successful in that. And, so there is nothing new about storytelling. There is nothing new about strategic storytelling. But why are we discussing it today? Why are we sitting in this panel here? And why this topic? I think because it is perhaps one of the biggest differentiators in marketing communications today. A lot of people have been talking about emotional element and functional elements, but I think all that is past now. People now want to correlate to stories. Marketeers, advertisers, and traditional storytellers, book writers, authors, they are all wanting to, use those keywords. The keywords are connect. How do you connect with your audience? And storytelling is a key technique. And I was just sitting here and I know there is a lot of crap about storytelling and when you Google and things like that. So I was just thinking what could be a great definition, and I just wrote a few lines here. And I just, I feel storytelling is actually putting your imagination to test in a manner that, with characters, with plots, by simplifying some very complex, some very scientific, some very difficult topics, so that it is for the common understanding of all. I think this sums up what storytelling is, and I have been a career marketeer all my life, And how do you simplify things? The more simple the story, the more powerful and compelling it is. And the second part of your question, obviously, I think storytelling is a key differentiator, and why it's becoming very critical today is because the social media has exploded. Today's marketing world is defined by digital marketing, right? When we were growing up in marketing, it used to be you do one print ad and one TV ad a quarter, and your marketing and your budgets were done. From now, and then it was your media that defined things. It was your creatives that defined the content. Today, it is your content that defines the creatives. So that's the importance of content, and hence that's the importance of storytelling. So if you see, there is so much content out there. There is so much clutter out there. The attention span has, totally shrunk. Now, for storytellers, this is a big challenge. Like, how do you repurpose your content all the time, number one? So that's the importance. And secondly, how do you basically handle so many platforms that have come up? Different platforms require different storytelling techniques, right? So
So, Rafi, would you like to share an example of or any personal story that has created an impact? Like you hold a year of experience, so
So I think one of the facts that was spoken today was mother's stories. I think for all of us, and we've heard stories when we were growing up, and those are the stories I think have had the largest impact on us. But I wanted to talk about, because all my fellow panelists have spoken and taken most of the important aspects of storytelling. However, I think storytelling has always been there in this world. Corporate storytelling took birth when the first corporates were formed in 17th, 16th, and 14th centuries. But in my career, when I started about 25 years ago, and storytelling today, there is a huge difference. So earlier when we started, it was very easy. We decided the story we wanted to tell, and then we looked at the platforms that were available to us, and we went and told our story. There was no talk back. There was no question. There was no difference of opinion in the story that you're trying to tell. But in today's world, the complete control over your story doesn't remain with you anymore. Your customers, your audience becomes a part of that entire storytelling. So one of the things that we spoke about was authenticity. I've been in boardrooms, I've been in front of clients where they've turned around and said, we need to have a higher purpose. I don't think you need to have a higher purpose to do storytelling, because you have to be authentic. And therefore, if your purpose, for example, of a business is to earn, I think there are 4 elements that are important in every business. Getting the finance to do your business, getting people who are going to work for you, getting people to buy your products or services, and the government to facilitate your business. So your storytelling over the years has still remained the same, except that this has further been divided into different platforms that have emerged. And he rightly said that there is a core storytelling, but it has to be adapted to every platform that you use that story. But you don't lose on the core messages of the story that you want to give.
I feel, a key word that has come up and Abhishek spoke about, he also spoke about it, is authenticity. I think that is the core of storytelling, how authentic you are. And one of the key challenges today in authenticity or storytelling is due to social media explosion. How do you balance between authenticity and virality,
yeah,
right?
I think we'll come back to the question. So moving back to Abhishek. So like what are the common mistakes organization make while creating their brand stories nowadays? And how can they create a balance between data-driven storytelling and the emotional appeal?
So the first question is,
Like what common mistakes do they make
they
while
just go ahead and
creating?
lie. Don't lie about yourself. I just want to pick up on what Rafi said, right? Uh, I think purpose is very important. And he was trying to, and just trying to take a contrary view. And I think purpose is very, very important. Purpose is at the heart of an organization and the why of what you do. And because of that, you're able to do authentic storytelling. And I think organizations have to be very core to the purpose that they've set for themselves, and organizations that have done this. For example, Apple is a great story of how they define the purpose of what they're trying to do. And in that, any product that comes in fits in really well and kind of builds on that story, right? So I think it's very, very important for us to have that. And wherever organizations that move away from that, so respect. One of the things that's happening again is, and on purpose, I think there was a comment on if you want to make money. That's a very shareholder view of thinking, right? In today's world, we are actually moving from shareholders to stakeholders. So hey, I want to make money, and then a regulatory issue could impact you and money's gone, right? And therefore your purpose is gone. So I think it's very, very important for us to kind of define that purpose, be very authentic to that purpose, and build your storyline which has a benefit to the audiences that you're trying to reach, and be very true to that. I think that's very, very important. There was a second part to this, right? Too?
Yeah. So how can we create a balance between a data-driven storytelling and emotional appeal?
So I don't think both of them are separate. I think data is very, very critical right now. In fact, data and Al Club, how artificial intelligence is also coming up. is very, very essential to how you could do emotional and authentic storytelling. So it's not a versus. Data can tell you information that is required for you to build emotional storytelling. We don't have to now, you don't have to do those secondary on-paper research and build it up, but you can actually use data to find that authentic information on how your behavioral patterns are or how your different audiences are reacting. And to what then Atul spoke about, that, hey, social media is, so how we're all different, consuming information differently. Therefore, I could do storytelling using that data to kind of bring that. And I want to just give an example of the mothers, because that was being spoken about. Don't want to name the brand, right? Insurance. It was a research that basically spoke about the fact that while more men could be buying insurance, but the influence is done by women, right? And these are young mothers who are making those decisions or influencing those decisions. You know, when do they consume that news? At 12:30 to 3:30 in the morning, when they put their child to sleep. All right, so that's the use of data to find an emotional connect, to build a story that's authentic, and potentially core to the purpose of what you're trying to do overall as an organization. So I think if that kind of puts the answer together.
That's an interesting answer, I'll say. And moving to Neeru, like, what role does AI and technology play in shaping like storytelling strategies today?
So I would like to give an example of an insurance company. Incidentally, I used to work, with Cigna, and insurance is a very, very dry, subject. So if you really want to create an emotional connect with people by highlighting why health and well-being is important, you need to go beyond, the obvious. So using AI, we built an algorithm and got one of the world's best, digital artists to collaborate and created what was called a stress, diagnostic machine, which wasn't a substitute for ECG, but came close, where you went and you had these, these gadgets kind of assessing how stressed you were. And there was a portrait that was generated where, using different colors, you analyzed your stress levels. And they changed. So if I had 3 cups of black coffee and I went and got that stress portrait, it looked significantly different from when I was rested. And instead of talking about insurance and why it was important, that one portrait opened so many doors for us all over the world. So that was a beautiful mix of AI, technology, and emotional connect.
So, Atul, what's your take on this?
Yeah, first I'll quickly go to your mistakes question. Like what mistakes? Because, and with the caveat that we tend to look at mistakes in retrospect, not in prospect. But this has huge learnings, perhaps, for the audience also here. And I personally feel the first mistake that happens is too much of me in storytelling, too much of the brand, too much of the product, too much of the product characteristics, and highlight this is what we are. A classic example is when Google Pixel 4 was launched, and their commercial flopped because they spoke about motion sensors, they spoke about night shift cameras, but the consumer says, for what? Yeah, how is it important to us? So where was the consumer benefit in that? Secondly, emotions is very important, as all of us in the communications field would know. But then people get carried away. Second mistake is too much emotion. When I was at Airtel, we had in the mobility headquarters, there was this concept of the magical moments of human emotions. And the Mittals decided that this will be the mantra for all the communications going forward for all Airtel, campaigns. And if you would have noticed over the years, somewhere you can correlate. Now they came up with this woman ad where in the first part of the commercial, the woman is actually instructing a person to do something subordinate. And in the second part, you realize that the woman is actually the wife of that person and she's cooking food for him. Now, they wanted to show women empowerment, but they went too far, right? The stereotypes of gender bias came in. It was a mistake, the commercial flop, because they wanted to get too emotional. They should have put a full stop somewhere. And thirdly, there's too much data, sometimes in many storytelling. Data basically, people correlate with stories. People do not correlate with too much stats. What that stats is leading up to is important to people. Campaign about AI hyper-personalization by Microsoft flopped for the same reasons. So I feel these are the three mistakes that normally happen in storytelling. And quickly going to the AI point, what I would like to say is, like, there is a question that everybody in the audience would have in their mind when we talk about AI and storytelling especially. Like, can a machine or can AI get emotions, into your output? Can it get the heart and soul into it? Can it get that connect that a human being is? The answer absolutely is yes. It may be debatable, but with the caveat that you have to look at AI as a collaborator. You have to look at AI as your brainstorming partner. You have to look at AI as a powerful ally. Like, over the years, I've handled multiple agencies. It would have been an ad agency, PR agency, or it could be a digital agency. Now, when we handle them, what is the first thing we do? What we do is we just articulate the brief to the fullest possible extent, detail it out, right? Because we know that this is the right input. When you give, you'll get the right output. A quality output or an output is as good or as bad as the brief. Similar is the case with AI. If you don't give the right command, if you don't give the right prompt, you won't get the right output, right? So this is what I wanted to highlight.
Completely agree with this. So moving to Rafi, my question to you is, like, first, what mistakes brands are making in their storytelling strategies, and how can they tailor their strategies to serve the diverse audiences?
In my career, I've done many messaging workshops for organizations, which is very different from how the storytelling and advertising and other fields are done. Because as far as communication, the way we do it, we are trying to convince third party to write what we want them to write. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you try and tell too much in the stories that you're trying to get out. As a result, what happens is that maybe there were the three critical messages that you wanted to send out, they get lost. So I think aligning of the top 3 or 4 priorities that you have, and then hammering away at those 5 messages through all the mediums of communication that are available to you becomes very important. I've worked with organizations who said that we are doing this in advertising and we are doing this through PR and we are doing this through digital, and I realized that they were trying to do 3 different things at the end of it. Today, the audience consumes information and stories from every possible domain. So I look at Instagram, I look at stories, I look at, read about them, I go to different platforms. So I think that's one of the things that we have to be very careful of. What are we trying to tell, and stay to that true. The other thing is authenticity, and I'm telling you, a lot of brands try and tell stories, but if you dig deeper, they're not able to stand authentically and defend their position. And as I said earlier, today, you have to realize that the entire storytelling is not only controlled by you, because the story that you send out will be consumed and reproduced in different various ways among your audience. So being conscious of that, and today, as we talk about technology and the wideness of that allows you to even test stories today that you want to tell, whether it's resonating with your audience or not. So sometimes you tend to, as Atul said, that sometimes it's inward, outside, where you're not looking at and matching it with the expectation of your audience. I think those are the bigger mistakes that we make. Then there are many others that we've all made in our careers as well.
So since our time is up, I'll quickly take the last question, and this question is open for all. I would like all of you to share one strategy or skills professionals should develop to master this art in today's world and in the future. So starting with Neeru first.
I was about to say, we have one lady and she's not been asked question first.
So So what was the question again? That what is a skill?
Yeah, one skill or one strategy they should learn or master, like to master this art of strategic storytelling in today's world.
Why doesn't somebody else go first till I till I think over this?
I think we all know how to tell stories. I don't think there is any special skill required to tell stories. I think there is a lot of hard work that one needs to do. You cannot tell a story in isolation of the environment that you exist in. And sometimes that is important. So, for example, a skill, I think PR people need to read, 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 and read. So, if you don't read, don't join PR. Because PR is all about reading. And the more you read, the lesser mistakes you will make when you do stories. Because when you read, you are also reading stories. So I think that's one of the biggest skills.
Can
that one
I
requires.
just come in here, right? So I'm sorry, I'm taking a contrary view to Rafi today a lot.
I know. That's what makes it interesting. As
So, when we were starting a career, right, we had to reach, and Rafi would know this, come at about 5 a.m. in the morning and track papers. The one thing that I learned, don't read, track. That's a huge difference. So,
oh yes. Oh yes.
so there's a huge difference between tracking a paper and reading a paper. In PR, track it well. Yes, get the time to read and you should build your knowledge. But when you're trying to do measurement and if you end up reading, you'll never end up sending your report out at 8:30 or 9 a.m. or whatever. But yeah, I mean, now there's great organizations that are doing this for us. But sorry, I mean,
No,
I
no,
just
I
wanted to
agree.
kind of
I agree.
bring that in.
No, no. So when I said read, what I meant was, from my experience, when we were juniors, we didn't read because there was no time. We had to tear it out of the paper, stick it with glue, send the report. That itself took hours to do. So we never read. Until I didn't become a senior, I wasn't reading. I was tracking.
So I think one of the skills that is required for PR professionals, and it's not limited to storytelling, is to be able to call out. Whether it's your executives or whether it's your spokesperson, to be able to stand there and stand your ground, because that is how you ensure that there is authenticity, for example, or trust that is being built through your storytelling. So the art of storytelling over a period of time can be acquired, cannot, I don't know, it depends. For a few of us, it's inherent, right? And that's why we enjoy being where we are, because we like storytelling. But if there is a skill, then it is to be able to call out the BS. And that is also an important
Atul,
skill.
what's
Yeah.
yours?
Can I just take 2 minutes to explain something that comes
I
to my
don't think
mind?
we have time to explain. I'm sorry about that. We have a paucity of time. So
Okay.
can you please quickly?
Okay, so I think copy and content skills are absolutely important. I feel you can let your imagination fly, but if you can't give it shape and thought on a piece of paper, so you need to be a good content person to be a good storyteller. At the same time, and I'll exemplify this by what my professor told me years back in my class at IIM Ahmedabad. He showed a very old film, perhaps in Europe. A beggar is sitting on a street and he's saying, "I'm blind, please help." And people all around him are just passing by, and nobody's paying attention. There comes this lady. She flips the placard, writes something on it, and she moves out. And then the commercial shows everybody's putting coins. And so what did she write? Then the camera flips back. She had written, "It's a bright sunshine day, but I can't see it. So that is the power of content. That is the power of copy that gets into storytelling.
Just try and wrap it up quickly. I think one is for good storytelling, I think the starting point is the fact that you need to understand your audiences really well and define them really well. And then I think instead of selling to them, understand what they need and sell for what the benefit they're seeking from an organization. I think that is absolutely critical. Use a lot of data and insights to build your storytelling, and then have a very clear, concise story that you want to communicate to each of the audiences, because in today's world you can't just have you can have you can have one narrative, but you need to have multiple stories and multiple formats uh, to kind of speak about, right? Uh, Also, I think artificial intelligence is real, so make it your ally, as Atul also spoke about. I think bring that core to your strategy in terms of how you could use that uh, to
So bring
enable
curiosity,
story. Yeah.
bring curiosity, anticipation, deep dive into the subject right away, be hyperbolic, create dramatization, create contrast, create common ground. I think these are some of the things. Be emotive, bring emotion into the stuff. So these are some of the Guru mantras.
Thank you so much, all the speakers, for sharing your wisdom with us and on the topic of Master of Strategic Storytelling. So, this is the panel, and a huge round of applause for all the speakers.
Thank you.